If you've been following me for a while on Instagram, you must have noticed that after every weekend, I come on my Instagram stories every Monday and I share what are the things that happened or that we did, me and my children did during the weekend. And today is Monday, and as I was sitting down and typing out all the activities, I thought, there's a lot that I want to talk about, and I should do it on a podcast format rather than sitting and typing out everything. Plus, the fact that Instagram stories last only for 24 hours, and the things that I want to say in this episode are things that I feel people would love to listen again and again. So, here we are, a very unexpected and unplanned episode number 1 of Spark On with Neelu. Hi, my name is Nilufer. My loved ones call me Neelu. Spark On with Neelu was actually a podcast that I launched in Dubai when hardly anybody knew the word podcast, especially here in India. I know it's a big scene right now, and it is one of the most trending marketing formats, and there are a lot of people with mics saying a lot of things these days. Anyway, coming back to Spark On with Neelu, it was launched in Dubai and it had a few episodes, I think about 8 episodes, out of which a couple of them were solo and the rest were me interviewing entrepreneurs around Dubai or around UAE. It had a good run, and after season 1, I decided to take a small break and come back. I think this was in 2016 when my third child was born. So I decided to take a small break or a short break and come back with season 2. But then life happened, and life happened in a very big, in a very big bombastic way. Um, I'm not going to get into all of that because if you are here through my Instagram, you probably already know that I'm not a married mother anymore. I am divorced. I applied for divorce myself. I am now a mother of 4 children, so a single mom of 4. I'm not living in Dubai anymore. I am back home in Kerala. Thankfully, in spite of everything that has happened in my personal life, I'm still up here, thriving, surviving. I mean, there are days when I feel that I'm thriving, and then there are days when I'm like, no, I'm just surviving. Someone pick me up. Anyhow, coming back to the whole objective behind this episode. So, yesterday was a Sunday, and so today is 10th of Feb. It's a Monday, and yesterday was a Sunday. And I woke up. I generally wake up early, even if kids don't have school, because my body is so used to waking up early now. So I wake up, kids are still in bed. The neighbors also seem to be in bed. It's a Sunday, right? So I thought I'll just step out and wash my car. So I had recently purchased, a few months ago, I had purchased my own car, my very first own car. As we get into more and more episodes of this podcast, you'll understand why the car is so important. So, anyway, I decided to wash my car, and I did not switch on any podcast or any music. I just listened to the birds, the nature, and sort of lost myself in the process of washing it, scrubbing it, washing it, and doing all the cleanup. And towards the end of it, my youngest was up. Then I made some breakfast. I realized that there wasn't enough groceries, and I'm not a fan of shopping on Sundays, but there just wasn't enough, and I was a little tired of ordering on Instamart or Blinkit. Plus, my mom is in town. She is visiting at the moment, so I thought since she can stay home with the kids, I can quickly go get some grocery shopping done. And I Generally, when I go to the supermarket, like the bigger supermarket, I tend to purchase 2 to 3 weeks worth of groceries so that I'm not constantly doing grocery runs. So I do grocery shopping, then I come back, I put the things away. So I have this tradition of whenever I go for these major purchases, I get from this particular supermarket or hypermarket. I'm not going to take names, but they usually have rotisserie chicken and fresh hobos and hummus and salad. So I generally, what I do is purchase a rotisserie chicken or shavai, as people here love to call it, some fresh hoops or kubus, hummus, and a box of salad. And then that's what we have for lunch and usually for dinner as well. So I didn't have much cooking to do. Then my younger two were playing with their friend, one of our neighbors, and my youngest, who is um, currently 6 years old, he hurt his little finger, his pinky finger, and he was in a lot of pain, and it was all purple. So I was like, okay, let me take you to the doctor, like to the emergency, and just make sure that everything is okay. So I take him, and thankfully there was no fracture or anything. They dressed his wound, and I loved how the nurses and the doctor handled him. Like I know he's my son, so obviously I am showing favoritism here, but he is this cute little pup sometimes. He has these puppy eyes when he's sad or when he wants to get his way. And yeah, he was in pain. No taking away of the fact that he was in pain. So anyway, we got it dressed, and he's like, "Can we get something to eat?" And this particular hospital has a pretty good cafeteria, so I got him a donut. Then we drive back, and I call the other kids and tell them that ask your grandma to get ready, and you guys also get ready. And then I drove them down to Wellington Island, which is one of my favorite spots to go for an evening walk. I drove them down there. I just shared some tidbits about the whole island. And then we went to Fort Kochi since we were in that area. I took them to a restaurant and we had dinner. And we came back home. So, why am I sharing all these activities? Well, mainly because Sundays used to be extremely difficult for me, or weekends, let's say, used to be extremely difficult for me. There was a point in time when getting out of bed was gruesome, like it felt like cruelty towards myself. It was that difficult. During the week, I would somehow get myself out of my bed, get everything ready, like lunchbox ready, myself ready for work, get things done, drop the kids at school or pick them up or whatever my responsibilities were at that point in time. I would take care of all of that without any issues. But about 4 to 5 years ago, when I slipped into depression, and I am talking about actual clinical depression. I do not use words like depression, anxiety, OCD, etc. lightly. I take it very seriously. So I slipped into clinical depression pretty much after my fourth was born. I think I slipped into it when I was pregnant with my youngest, but the actual signs started manifesting after he was born during that time. Um, and we were in Dubai at the time, by the way. So we made the move. I was still married at the time. We made the move from UAE to India in the middle of COVID. We didn't really have much choice, so we left. And Sundays used to be excruciatingly difficult. I don't know what was it about the weekend. Probably the fact that I didn't have as many responsibilities during the week, so I wasn't probably motivated to. No, that's not the right way to put it. Let's just say it was very difficult. And initially, there was a lot of shame, there was a lot of guilt at the fact that I was just in bed, not doing much. When I was still married and when my ex husband was still living with us, um, his attitude and behavior a lot of times also added to the guilt and shame. And the fact that I was a very hyper productive person, or by the way, if you are hyper productive, then the chances of you slipping into depression and then beating yourself up for feeling completely the opposite of what was once your normal, the chances are actually very high for this to happen. Anyway, so the fact that I was a very hyper productive person and suddenly just getting out of bed started to feel difficult or was feeling difficult. Then the cultural conditioning, the shame, the guilt that I was, my inner demons that I was battling. And then the shame and guilt that I was made to feel for, let's say, ordering food through Zomato and not cooking myself. On Sundays, we don't have the house help coming in, so it was all on me. The fellow wouldn't, the fellow that I was married to and lived with wouldn't even heat up a toast, like make a toast and egg. I had to do everything myself. So the shame and guilt that I was made to feel for ordering food. And one of my neighbors at the time, we were living in an apartment building, and one of the kids of our neighbors noticed it. And he made fun of my daughter, my second child, saying that you guys are always eating out and ordering food. And I told her it's okay to rely on other people when we are not keeping well. So, and also the fact that he, the child who was making fun of us, I was like, that's none of his business. He's not paying for our food. Whether we are ordering or not ordering food from outside is none of his business. Thankfully, my therapist also kept reminding me that it is okay to not be perfectly put together all the time in front of the children. Sometimes not sometimes, it is okay for them to see that their parents are not these perfect human beings or honestly robots who are always on the go. It is okay for them to see their parents struggling. It humanizes their parents. It also helps them understand from a young age that not everyone can be productive all the time and it is okay to rest. So it was a tough pill to swallow, but I swallowed it. And I have been extremely patient with me for the last, 4 or 5 years. I started therapy in July or August of 2020. It's Feb 2025 as I am recording it, sorry. And I've been extremely patient with myself. I've had to show myself a lot of kindness and grace. And now here we are where I am not in bed on Sundays anymore. In fact, I am back to cooking. A couple of weeks ago on a Sunday, I actually made a large pot of butter chicken pasta, which is one of my children's favorite dishes, and I actually served a little bit to 3 of my neighbors as well. Not a huge portion, but yeah. So I've gone from not being able to even pull myself out of bed, which is like a very normal thing for people to do on a day-to-day basis, right? From there, from being I've gone, like, I went through all of that with zero support from the people that I would have loved some support from. Both my family and my ex husband's family labeled me as a mentally ill person, which is an insult here in Kerala. And in spite of all of that, in spite of my own inner demons, I pushed through, I gave myself time, I showed myself a lot of grace and kindness. And I wouldn't say I'm at the other side of the tunnel yet, but I can definitely see the light now. And I am back to cooking or washing the car or going grocery shopping, taking the children out, like doing a few things instead of being in bed. This is not to say that when I was struggling with depression, um, I didn't take my children out during Sundays. I did, but that would be the only activity I could muster the strength for, the mental strength for that Sunday. But now I'm able to do multiple things. I'm not pushing myself to be quote unquote productive on a Sunday. That's not my cup of tea anymore. Weekends are for slowing down, weekends are for catching your breath, especially as a single mother of four with a lot of responsibilities on my plate. But you get the idea. So yeah, I thought instead of sharing all of this on my Instagram stories, I will record an episode and get this show on the road, because I have been sitting on the second edition or season two, or I don't know what I'm going to call this, but I've been wanting to relaunch Spark On with Neelu for so long now, and I guess it's time. Yeah, as I say, there's the right time. There's the right time for everything, and by the looks of it, this is the right time. Thank you so much for listening. Do subscribe to my show, share the episode with your friends, um, and also a gentle and kind and friendly reminder that it is completely okay to not do the things or feel like yourself and go through these ups and downs. Do not let the society or anyone, your family members, friends, or random strangers online, make you feel bad for catching a breather or going through a dip or not feeling like yourself. Do take professional help though, because a lot of times our friends and family members are not really equipped to give us the kind of support that we need when we are going through mental health struggles. And it is completely okay to reach out to a professional, a psychologist, or a psychiatrist. And I would also like to go further and say that if a psychiatrist, especially a couple of them, are prescribing meds because you are deep in the end of, like you're that deep in depression and anxiety that you do require medication, then here's my encouragement to take medication. Please do not let anybody shame you or guilt you or make you feel bad for being human. If a person can endure let's say, someone playing football gets injured and they break their bone, they're going to go to an orthopedic and get it checked. There's x-ray, there's MRI, there's bandages and whatnot, right, to heal that bone. The same way, when your mind breaks, to put it very simply, when your mind breaks, it is completely okay to reach out to a doctor, to a specialist, and it is okay to take medication if your context or if your situation calls for them. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for listening. I will be back soon with another episode. Ciao.